Hello there everyone and welcome back to Space Harrier 2. In the last episode we took on the first 4 levels of the game to make it to Copper Hill, which I have struggled with in the past. I've done a little bit of practice prior to starting this episode. But I had also practiced a ton in the stages in the last episode, and being on camera suddenly made it all quite a bit more difficult, so who knows how this goes. Now the main thing with this one is that most of the level is taken up by this very fast section at the end of it. Well, I say the end of it, kind of starts in the middle, but it doesn't finish until the level finishes. So you just kind of have to weave through all of this. Avoid the armors, who I've always struggled with until I realised you can just go up to the top of the level and avoid it, and you just need to get out of the way of the pillars. It's not too hard once you know what you're doing, but first time round, it's pretty tricky. This is the boss of the level, this sort of lion dragon thing. I read on Space Area 2's Wikipedia page that it was apparently based on the never-ending story. And this guy kinda reminds me of Falgor, the luck dragon from that. In the films, which is the one that most people in the West will have known about the story from, Falgor is more of like a dog sort of thing, but apparently in the original book, and that's the version of the story that most people in Germany, the original language, and Japan, which is the important one for this case, will know it from. He is more of a lion, so I'm kind of curious whether this guy maybe is based on Falgor from the Never-Ending Story. He's not too hard to avoid, you just need to be brave with him. I find it's best to kind of circle him when he does that charge back and forth, because he occasionally fires out fireballs like that. And then you just need to kind of stand your ground when he starts very goofily charging towards the camera. You just need to be aware of the fact that obviously you got to get out of the way in time, but that's not too hard. You can get out of the way pretty quickly. But it's the only way that you're kind of guaranteed to be safe, ironically, when he's charging right at you. That's the only time you're definitely safe, that he's definitely not going to be firing any fireballs at you. But with that, we move on to Fallpyram, which is one of 2 levels in a row where you can really kind of... They really had a thing going on in terms of how they're going to make it difficult. In this case, I tripped over something there. I was about to say, why can't I move? In this case, it's just the fact that everything stays on screen for so long that you just end up with so many projectiles on screen at once you need to avoid. But in terms of their actual patterns, assuming you don't just let them charge right into you, they're pretty easy to avoid. And once that initial onslaught is over, it's really just a load of barbarians for the rest of the level. Pretty easy to avoid, in all honesty. I think it's 3 or 4 waves of them. Assuming you don't do that. Assuming you don't go into their path, they're really easy to avoid. I think it should be 1 more, and then it's like a final little thing. There we go, that's what I was trying to do. I don't know what I was going for first time round. And I believe there's 1 more thing. Yes, there's like a round of Cybermen. And then I think we're going to be facing a boss, yes? Eventually, yep, there we go. Right, this is Wizard. What you want to do is he doesn't attack until he splits into 3, so you can get a lot of damage onto him just by firing your gun as soon as he appears. You don't need to try and dodge anything until he starts circling around like this. I don't really know what the gimmick is. I don't know why he splits into 3. I don't know whether it's like only 1 of them actually takes damage. He seems to take plenty of damage no matter which one you shoot. You just need to circle around, like so. Whenever he comes to the foreground, he's not going to attack, so you can just get in a lot of damage there. And then you circle around, he's pretty easy. Not too much of a trouble. And then we move on to Craddha, where everything... Much like the last one, where it's kind of clear that there was a single gimmick with how everything moves to make it damaging. This one, not many projectiles are fired out, it's just the fact that everything's coming towards you. So you kind of got to move around and dodge around all of it. In this specific case, you can actually be on the ground for a lot of it. none of these stony head people will ever actually be on the ground. So if you're there, they're not ever going to hit you. You just need to avoid the kind of the imp fireball things if you stay on the ground. Problem, of course, being is that the stone heads will then stop you from being particularly maneuverable, so you don't really want to stay grounded, but you can if you want to guarantee you're not going to get hit by them. You probably just want to, you know, get good though. Those guys always mess me up, but I think at the end of the next stage that we're really going to have to worry about them. They're not, I think that's the only time they appear on this stage, so they're not too bad. This is one of the situations though where the somewhat inconsistent auto fires really bad for us, because you'll just be firing at enemies, waiting for them to get hit by your thing, and then it just won't attack. And it's like, oh, come on. I'm sat there and I'm throwing out projectiles, I'm shooting my gun, and it's just not doing anything. So that's one of those situations where it's been annoying. This is where we're going to see that weird snake centipede lady from the box art. This is Medusa. I was kind of curious where they were for the fair while. Because, you know, you assume there's probably going to be one of the first bosses in the game that you're going to put on the cover, but no, it's like halfway through the game that this one shows up. You don't really need to bother shooting while they're going away from you. Her backside is invulnerable to damage. It's only her face, like a lot of other bosses, that actually takes damage. So when she's going away like that, there's not much point shooting until she turns around and starts firing projectiles again. Because, you know, obviously at that point her face is facing towards you, so you can get some more damage in there. But while she's just moving away from you, there's really no point in shooting. It's like the one point in the game where you don't need to be firing your gun. But come on. Loop around. Like a lot of bosses, this whole circle strategy is really effective. And eventually, she goes down pretty easily. And finally, we have Monarch. We want to be keeping up our lives for this one because the final section of it's pretty tough. Like, there's no way around it. It's pretty much a life drain. I'm not sure how you're supposed to get through it damageless. But luckily, the rest of the stage isn't too bad, so should be able to get through it pretty easily. We see a return of the fighter plane enemies for the first time in a while. But as always, they're some of the easiest ones in the game to avoid and to attack. Like so. Get a fairly fast section here. And then we get these frogs who, like before, terrify me. But they don't actually do anything. That's the only time they appear in the stage. So, not too bad. I don't know what these enemies are called. I don't really know what they're supposed to be, but apparently they're another one of those enemies that was in the first game as a boss, but has been downgraded to a normal enemy in this one. This is why we need to try and keep up our lives in this one, because I'm really not sure how you're supposed to do this damageless. That's the closest I've ever gotten to getting through it damageless. Like literally, I think that's the second to last projectile fight in the boss fight. That's the closest I've ever been to doing it damageless. But it really is just a case of dodging it, because I don't know how you're supposed to destroy them all before they start retreating. But with that, we'll finish this bonus stage. I find that this one's a bit easier than the last one to get a lot of points on. There's just a lot more, I'm assuming they're pools. There's a lot more pools on the ground that you can attack. The armors also there's just a few more armors. It's not really like they're in any easier of a pattern than usual to hit, but there's just a lot of them, so it's not too bad to hitting them all. Especially because they also dive close to the ground, so you can kind of hit them and the poles at the same time. But with that, I think that this is the final set. Yep, we should get a fair number of lives. We've got 7? Yes, 7 lives. That's pretty good. I think the best I've done going into Fellcold here, I think the best I've done is 10. I lost a lot on one single level though, so a little bit training, before we get there should serve me well. But with that, thank you all for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. Next time, we'll finish the game off. We'll have up to stage 13, I believe. I don't believe there's any more bonus stages until then. So I think in the next episode, we're finishing the game off. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. But for now, adios and ciao.